Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Rama Rama, Hare
Hare Krishna. Yeah, we are still waiting for many devotees to come, but we can start by the time. I just want to quickly introduce Srivas Prabhu. One person is missing in their family, Malini Mataji. We'll soon get to meet her also, hopefully, and Gita Priya. So, in devotional service, there are many different skills or different services, and this family takes care of almost all the services that you would have heard in devotional service. Krishna consciousness, book distribution, giving classes. Shastri Prabhu runs almost 5 to 6 bhakti vrikshas, I think more than that, and indirectly 10 to 15. I mean, there is unlimited. I don't know how his time expands, he only knows. Then Kirtan here, we have Gita Priya. They both, Shasmin Prabhu and Malini Mataji, they both raised Gita Priya very nicely, and now she is so nicely practicing Krishna consciousness. And obviously, also Shasmin Prabhuji, like how we do 10th standard and 12th standard, then we have bachelor's, master's, PhDs, postdoctorate, doctorate. Like that, Prabhu was also doing Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vaibhav, Bhakti Sarvabhauma, Bhakti Vedanta, the list goes on. And he is known as preacher's preacher. So people who preach, he preaches to them. To preach, how to preach. So we are very fortunate today for today's program, which is 56 Bhoga offering for Jagannathji, Baldev Subhadra Mai Rath Yatra. Prabhuji agreed to come and give a class on, we will see. Hari Bol. We'll loudly chant for Srivas Prabhu 3 times. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Deity worship. They have very grand altar. Sometime if you get a chance to visit their dham, you can visit that or you can see. Thank you. So it's the Madhyamila has I'll get a table. No. No, this is the Rath Yatra filling. I just saw the. This one more. No. I'll do Jai Radha Madhava, and then we can do the Hare Krishna. No, we have it. So this one. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Achyuta Chaitanya Prabhu, Manjari Gopika Mataji. And I welcome everyone
for joining this most auspicious celebration of offering 56 offerings to Lord Jagannath. And today also is the Rath Yatra in Jagannath Puri. So it's a very auspicious day. We'll do a little bit of kirtan, I think, little bit. Is it okay or is it loud? Okay. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamunatiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatiravanachari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. You want to sing? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva. And in the end, we'll have Kirtan by Gita Priya when we complete the class. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Welcome all of you. Hare Krishna Mata. Hare Krishna. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guroho Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभयश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Achyuta Chaitanya, do you happen to have a zafu or something like that? Hare Krishna. So, actually, I can sit. No, I can just sit in the front. It's okay. It's okay. So, one of the biggest quest in the life is to discover truly who I am. Because behind the identity of who we are, there seems to be a deeper need to realize our own self. In this world, it has taken on many forms, like self-awareness, right? Mindfulness. Did anybody hear that? It's a big hot topic these days, being mindful. But exactly how can you be mindful? Or what exactly mindfulness means? Because mindfulness involves three things. One is the mind, one is the full, and the other is ness. But unless you can recognize your own mind, how can you be mindful? Then beyond the mind is the intelligence. But beyond the intelligence is the soul. And Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that dehinosmin yata dehe komaram yovanam jara tata dehantara praptir dhirastatra namuhyati. That we can see how the soul transmigrates from one body to another. Based on one's past karma, you get a different type of body. And we take this body and then we give up this body and take on to another body. This is the very nature of material existence. And nobody, whether one is an atheist or one is an agnostic or one is a firm believer in God or other higher powers, cannot escape this rule. Yes or yes? This is the very nature of this world. Then the question actually comes from the fact is, then how can I discover myself? And the bigger question is why? Because the biggest question is, I'm happy what I am doing. I'm perfect. I'm content. Isn't that Bhagavad Gita teaches us to be content? I'm content. Why should I even worry about spirituality or spiritual life? But please understand, when you subject yourself to the identity that I am body, you are subjecting yourself to the changes that accompany with the body. And that is undeniable, yes or yes? I was a small baby, and then a toddler, then a boy, a youth, and now I am old. That is a change that I cannot deny, or I cannot bypass, or I cannot escape. Yes or yes? Then if I give myself with that identity that I am just this mere body, then there is an anxiety. What will happen after my body? after I give up this body and move on to the next life, and what's the future? Unfortunately, in the modern time, we really don't even have time to think. We don't even have time to dwell on asking these questions, major questions in life. Like, what is the destination? And at the same time, the modern man is suffering without knowing why the effects of my past lives are happening on me. I cannot avoid. Ever you heard the term, man, I cannot catch a break. One thing after another is just pounding me, and I cannot catch a break. When times are really good, means that I forget the painful part of existence, but nevertheless they rear their ugly head in ways that we cannot even understand. And there is an anxiety. And Bhagavad Gita teaches us that when you are established on the platform of self-realization or spirituality, then one is extremely, completely happy. I'll give an example. Is that okay? And then I'll pick up our hosts today, if that's okay with you. Most of you know that, Achyuta Chaitanya Prabhu's illustrious wife is Manjari Gopika Mataji. She was sitting there back with their beautiful daughter Kishori. So one day they kind of sleep at night. And in the middle of night, Manjari notices that, she's feeling some kicks on her legs as she's sleeping. She's not able to understand why. The reason is this. God forbid it never happens, but Achyuta Chaitanya Prabhu is having the dream that he's being chased by a tiger. He's chased by a tiger. Of course, he's in the sleep. He's not really running, but his legs are hitting Manjari Gopika Mataji. And then he's running, and then he's breaking into cold sweat, and she's like half awake, like not sure what's happening. And then later, in that dream, Achyuta Chaitanya Prabhu is being chased by this tiger, and now he's at the edge of the cliff. If you turn back, there is a tiger ready to eat him. If he moves forward, there is a cliff. And then Achyuta Chaitanya Prabhu is really worried, and he screams loudly. Because he is deep sleep, his scream is half scream. It's like, it's hard. It's because you're not fully awake, but you're not fully sleeping. And then you are having this. Did you ever get dreams like this? I got a lot when I was a student. It was the day of the exam, and I had gone to the wrong center. Or it was the day of the exam, I caught the wrong bus to go to the college. And I woke up in cold sweat. Did anybody have that dreams or just me? So Manjari Gopika Mataji is like really kind of, she said, I have had enough. So she takes a glass of cold water and puts it on Achyuta Chaitanya Prabhu's face. Nicely, gently. She's a very gentle lady like that. Just to help her husband. And Achyuta Chaitanya Prabhu, what happened? Oh, you were dreaming. And it seems to be a bad dream because I was feeling the kicks and the screams. And then Achyuta Chaitanya Prabhu wakes up. He realizes that he is at his home. Phew. The spirituality is something like this. Because we take the identity of this material body, think ourselves to be the matter, to that extent you are attached to material nature, to that extent you suffer. Because if actually there is no real tiger, there is no real cliff, there is no real situation, this is all created in the dreams. And in the same way, when one awakens to one's own spiritual nature, the eternal nature which is Atma, then one no longer is associating with the trials and tribulations of this material world. Now, you're saying this is all nice, but in this time and age, I barely have time to complete my job. I barely have time to do my studies if you're a student. I barely have time to kind of complete playing all the games on my computers or my iPhone if you are a young adult. How can I even start or think of spirituality. But please understand, in this day and age, the spirituality or the spiritual life or the teachings of Bhagavad Gita are even more important. Because our life is ebbing by really fast. And the trials and tribulations you just take in this age just to maintain yourself. Forget, having peace and comforts of life. You can see how in past 100 years, life is become so fast. You ask anybody, even the senior citizens who are supposed to be retired, they are saying we don't have time. Did you get that experience? You call your parents in India, you feel that if they are more busy than us. Yes or yes? I'm going here, I'm going there. Then how can you even understand spirituality? How can even you take time to understand Bhagavad Gita? By coming to programs like this, by associating with those who are serious about spirituality, whose motivation is genuine to help one understand. Otherwise, it's impossible to make any sort of progress. Any questions, any comments before we get to the next phase of our topic? And this is, yes, Haladara Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Day to day, and while living we come up with the different situations. Now one way is like you can avoid those situations by thinking this is just a dream, right? And you can just let it go. Like situation which is agitating, mainly I'm talking about. And other ways like those situations really you challenge through within your mind, through your ability, right, through your words, through your action, and you get mature over through those channels. So where it is applied when we say dream and let it go, versus where we need to really challenge through our ability on those situations, bro.
Thank you. It's an excellent question. In Bhagavad Gita, we all know the story of why Mahabharata war started. We'll not get to that point. In the Bhagavad Gita, in the very first chapter, both the armies of the Pandavas and Kauravas, they are ready to fight. According to Mahabharata, 3.9 million soldiers were assembled to fight. Now, if you have the biggest sporting event is what here in this country? Super Bowl? Or there is something bigger than that? I'm not really familiar. Those who came as students, they are more familiar with the sports in this country. 100,000 people will come. 100,000 people itself is like a big thing, right? There are people make elaborate security and there's a lot of screening and baggage and so this 3.94 million people assembled at the same place. It's like covering 20 square miles. From here to Fremont is the size of people that got occupied. In fact, it is mentioned that Abhimanyu was killed unfairly, right? We know the story. And next day, Arjuna took a vow to kill him before sunset. If not, he will end his own life. And the Kaurava said, this is the greatest opportunity. We just have to make sure that Jayadratha is protected. And the Mahabharata war will be ending because Arjuna will walk into the fire if he doesn't kill Jayadratha. And then Arjuna is the MVP of the opposing party. So, Hare Krishna. So we will win. And it is mentioned that they protected Jayadratha in such a way. He was like far end of the army, and there were layers and layers and layers and layers of people that were protecting Jayadratha so that Arjuna could go. It's mentioned that he almost traveled 20 miles to get it, 20 miles of fighting different warriors to get to that place where Jayadratha was. So there was this army is ready to fight, and then Arjuna says to Krishna, Krishna, please drive the chariot in between these armies so that I can see who came here to fight. And when Arjuna saw the enemies that were ready to fight, they were his very own friends and brothers-in-laws and fathers-in-laws, nephews, teachers, grandfathers like Bhishma. His heart becomes overwhelmed, and he says to Krishna, Krishna, I will not fight. And he gives the whole instruction of Bhagavad Gita, where in the 11th chapter, Krishna shows the universal form to Arjuna, and he also shows that all his enemies are being devoured by him as a form of time. And Arjuna's victory was assured in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Partho Dhanurdhara, Tatra Srir Vijayor Bhuti, Dhruvanitir Matirmama. And after listening to Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna said, very nice, oh Krishna, now I'll get a bed sheet and a pillow. Peacefully sleep in the chariot. Anyway, it is done. And I'll dream of victory, and anyway it will happen. No, Arjuna had to still fight. So, as we advance in spiritual life, then to Haladhara Prabhu's question is, if it is for Krishna, I'll go full force. If it is for me, then I will not. But till we reach to that point, we still have to exert our intelligence. For example, if you have to work in the office, usually for those who are lazy, work in the office is like a dream, and the evening TV shows are real. It's go through the motions, just go through the motions, get something done and move on in life. But no, we need to put in our full force to put at our work, thinking that the results don't depend on me, but the results depend on Krishna, but the work depends on me. If I don't work, then the results won't come. It's just a matter of time. And then the question is that you should try. If you fail first time, you try it again and again, at least a few times, till you kind of refine the process to say that. If it is my own personal insults, then I don't act. If it is for Krishna and his devotees are being offended, then I will act. That is one aspect. The second aspect is we try our best in material sphere. The reason I say is, in the Bhagavad Gita, there is a gradual evolution of yoga process. In the 3rd chapter, after explaining about soul, Krishna doesn't say, now you go to forest. At the end of the 2nd chapter, Krishna says, he gives the whole explanation. The 2nd chapter is one of the big chapters, 2nd biggest chapters in Bhagavad Gita, with 72 verses. The first half of the 2nd chapter, Krishna goes into analytically describing what the soul is and what the body is and how they are different. The soul, he says, never perishes, and the body never survives. And you see the truth. That effect, Krishna's statement, is universally applicable. If you are born in this world, means you have to give it up one day or other. It doesn't matter. And the second part of the 2nd chapter, Krishna talks of performing one's duty without attachment. And at the end of the 2nd chapter, Krishna doesn't say, all right, 2 chapters done, you can go to forest. No, in the 3rd chapter, he talks of karma yoga, because I have the tendencies. If the fan is running in full speed, if you turn it off and you don't put any stick in between, it'll take time to stop. Yes or yes? Don't put stick. It is too violent and you'll break the fan. Similarly, when you come to spirituality, when you understand spiritual life, it's like you are awakened to the truth, but then it's like the fan, the effects will be there, and they'll be there for a very long time to come. And the tendencies will still be there. And the reason is this. I have been taking birth in this material world since time immemorial. Billions upon billions of times I have taken birth and I have given up the body. And so this material life, this material world becomes very, very comfortable. And the beauty is the Lord's Maya is such, you are put into any horrible situation, you will not want to give it up. Shall I tell a little graphic story? Any kids around? It's okay. It's 2 kids. So there was this story I long time ago I read. There was this person from Australia, and I don't know why he did, but he did. He started smuggling drugs into the Southeast Asian countries, Thailand, Indonesia, some places like that, and he got caught. And for those who are indulging in these illegal activities, it was death penalty in those Southeastern Asian countries. So he was lodged in one of the prisons in Thailand, someplace. It was pretty bad, extremely bad. There was not much of ventilation. The sun would just fiercely blow through it. Food was not good at all. And then people would, I know we have some prasadams, but I'll just leave it with a hint to say what sort of food. If you could catch a rat, that would be filling the stomach. That was that bad. And this person describes one thing, that people are awaiting to be going to their death sentence. And every day he would see one person being dragged to be subject to death. Now they had been in that horrible conditions for few years or few months with practically nothing, struck by diseases, dysentery, cholera, so on and so forth. And living in that condition, when somebody says that you have to die today, you'll be jumping with joy. Thank you very much. This is disgusting. No, but you can see that that person was being dragged to his death sentence. He was trying to hold on to every pillar on the way so that people had to drag him. The point I'm trying to make is this material world or Maya Shakti of God is so powerful that in any horrible situation, you don't want to give up. The reason is because I am very afraid of what my future is going to be, because I am not situated on a spiritual platform. And when you are situated on that spiritual platform, you become completely fearless. There is no fear. So Karma Yoga in the 3rd chapter means that because I became so comfortable in this material world, there is still that tendency that I need to kind of purify myself through performing action. You cannot immediately just artificially give up everything and go. And then we can see how gradually the process is after some purification from Karma Yoga to Jnana to Dhyana. And then only you can actually come to the point of bhakti. But since we take up directly to the process of bhakti, we might find that our past tendencies are very strongly rooted within us. And it will take time to kind of, purify ourselves. Because we are in this dual situations, we need to work. At the same time, we need to perform our regulative spiritual practices to kind of move on in this world. Just like a person who is struck with a disease, he'll have to take the tablets or the medicines. At the same time, maybe have some restrictions on diet. You cannot do this or you cannot do that. So it's a twin thing to move forward. So because of which, Haladhara Prabhu, we work. It's a dreamlike condition, but still we have to work to overcome it. And Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 3rd chapter, 17th verse, he says, Yasyatma ratireva syad atma triptascha manavaha atma nyevacha santushtas tasya karyam na vidyate. If you really want to retire from this material world, Krishna is saying what you have to do. It's not like you earn billions of dollars, then only you can read. He says, no, if you are a self-realized soul, for you there is no duty. So far, so good. Is that okay? Any questions, any comments? And we have some time. And then we can go into what a self-realized soul is from pages of Bhagavatam, or we can do, in the interest of time, we can do the Chaitanya Charitamrita reading describing the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Maheshji.
Prabhuji, can you explain some differences between karma yoga and bhakti yoga?
I'll His Holiness Hanumat Prechak Maharaj said this. Karma yoga is I will do activity for my own pleasure and offer results to Krishna. Bhakti yoga is I will do activities for the pleasure of Krishna. It's a simple thing. Bhakti yoga is anything that I can do for satisfying or giving pleasure to Krishna, then that is bhakti. But karma yoga is I like to do this, Krishna. You may not like it or like it, but I'll do this because this is my natural tendency and I'll offer you the fruits to you. In that sense, the attachment or the link between the karma yogi and God is the offering of fruits. Thank you. Other questions, comments? Okay. So the bhakti yoga is a process of what again? Who do we worship is a process in the process of bhakti yoga? Krishna. What if you can worship Ram? Prabhu, I like Ram. Is that okay or not okay? Okay. Because Krishna, when we say Krishna, thank you. When we say Krishna, Krishna has only one form? Or can he expand into many forms? He can expand. 7, 8 forms, right? That's all he can do, max. Huh? Unlimited. Oh, Babre. But then what about people in this modern day? We find in every gully there is incarnation, gully incarnations of Krishna. Because you said it's unlimited, maybe they are also, right? Should we also have them? How do we know? Because that's a major problem. People are being cheated in the name of the so-called fake godmen who shamelessly tell themselves to be God with having no divinity, nothing whatsoever. It's a farce, it's a sham. So the answer to that is, in the scriptures, there are given specific incarnations of God according to what the scriptures say. Because if you want to know something beyond your understanding, you have to learn from somebody who has seen, yes or yes. The persons who say that I don't believe that God exists, I am a very rational thinker, I am a very scientific mind. Sir, you are also a man of faith. What? How can you say I am a man of faith? It's an outrage, an insult to my what I thinking is. Hear me out. Which grade did we study about atom? Third? Fourth? Did you all see atom? But then you believe in atom, you didn't see it, which means your teacher told you and you have faith in your teacher, yes or yes. Imagine that you go to the class and tell your teacher, this is this, prove it. This is this, prove it. The teacher will say, you'll never understand, go. So at one point you have to have faith, yes or yes. Now the question is, your teacher will say, well, I haven't seen atom, but somebody has seen the atom and have written in a book. We are saying the where you place pH. God, but sun god was born billions of years ago. You just are born now. How can you say that? And Krishna says, "O Arjuna, many, many births you and I have passed through. I remember all of them, but you, no." So the very fact is that in the next life you start all over again. Which means that you are born in ignorance and you have to have faith. And faith is what actually drives the world. Think about it. You're crossing the street and there is that ting, that thing will come, right? If you put that, what is the walk sign? It'll come. You will walk knowing the person that nobody will hit you, correct? I have no faith. Ore Babra, I don't have the faith. Somebody will hit me. You will never cross the road. Yes or yes? You are doing a degree so that you can earn a job, and you have that faith that working, getting a degree, I'll get me a job. If you don't have that faith, will you do the degree or marry a person? Especially arranged marriages. So faith is what it drives the world. And when you have faith about God, then knowing God will come through scriptures. If you, because I cannot see what is beyond, I have a limitation of my senses, then by understanding what is written in the scriptures, by understanding or taking guidance from a guru, then you will know who God is. It's the same process. So one of the incarnations of the Supreme Lord is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he is the combined form of Radha Krishna. And today is the day where the Ratha Yatra is being happening in Jagannath Puri, where the Lord Jagannath, Baldev and Subhadra, you see those beautiful deities, they are pulled on a cart. So is that okay if we read a little bit of Chaitanya Charitamrita? Or that is one track. The second track is, we talked of retirement plan in Bhagavad Gita, 317, Yasyatma, 317, like 401k, 317k. We can discuss from Bhagavatam about the characteristics of a person who is already on the realized platform. And then you can know what a little bit about, what is that stage? What is the stage feel like to be completely happy and joyful and free from material existence? We can do both, but we have to hard stop in 20 minutes. What do you want to do? Jagannath. I heard Jagannath. Right, let's do Jagannath. So every year, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would perform ecstatic pastimes during the Rath Yatra. In the Rath Yatra, all his devotees would come from Bengal. They would greet, they would be eagerly waiting to spend time with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They would walk for 2 months or more to come and spend 2-3 months with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All the devotees from Bengal, like Advaita Acharya, Srivas, Thakur, and all the villagers from Kulinagram, so many places, thousands of people would come, and Shivananda Sen would make sure that they get places to stay every night. The food and prasadam is arranged for all of them. And at last they would come, they would meet Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then before having the grand procession of Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, he would clean the Gundicha temple, the supreme absolute truth. he would actually clean the Gundicha temple along with his devotees. And this, after doing that, this is the beginning of the Rath Yatra starting on the day of the morning. You can actually, if for those who want to see it on the phone, you can go to Vedabase, you can go to Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya and chapter 13. So I will ask devotees to read the translation. Is that okay? Is everybody comfortable? Comfortable is a relative word in the material world, but for those who are new, don't hesitate. You can ask the website and so on and so forth. I promise you it's worth the time. Madhya chapter 13. And so for those, please, Matajis can help others who want to go to the. And let me know if everybody on that page. Hare Krishna. Welcome again, those who joined a little late. Please welcome. Chapter 13. Is everybody there, or somebody needs a little more time? It's okay, we'll wait. I want to make sure that who wants to read or who wants to, because this is, then we can. And my only request is I'll ask one devotee to read, and then he or she has to tell who, I have to pass the baton to who next reads. And that person has to pass to the next. So, chapter 13. The ecstatic dancing of the Lord at Ratha Yatra. A summary of this chapter is given by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Amrita Pravaha Bhashya as follows. After bathing early in the morning, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw the deities, Jagannath, Baldev and Subhadra, get aboard their 3 cars. This function is called Pandu Vijay. At that time, King Prataprudra took a broom with a golden handle and began to cleanse the road. Lord Jagannath took permission from the goddess of fortune and then started in the car for the Gundicha temple. The road to the temple led along a broad, sandy beach, and on both sides of the road were residential quarters, houses, and gardens. Along that road, the servants called Gaudas began to pull the cars. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu divided his Sankirtan party into 7 divisions. With 2 mridangas in each division, they were altogether 14 mridangas. While performing kirtan, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exhibited various symptoms of transcendental ecstasy, and Jagannath and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exchanged their feelings very blissfully. When the cars reached the place known as Balagandi, the devotees offered the deities simple food. At this time, in a nearby garden, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his devotees took a brief rest from dancing. Text 1. Sajiyat Krishna Chaitanya Shri Ratagre Nanartayaha Yena Sijjagatam Chitram Jagannatho Pivismitaha. Achyuta Chaitanya Prabhu. Translation.
May the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, who danced in front of the car of Sri Jagannath, be all glorified. By seeing his dancing, not only was the whole universe held in wonder, but Lord Jagannath himself became very astonished.
Thank you. You have to give it to the next person, whoever. Jaya Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda जय अद्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंदा.
All glories to Sri Krishna Chaitanya and Prabhu Nityananda. All glories to Advaita Chandra. And all glories to the devotees of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Text 3. Jaya Shrota Gana Shuna Kari Akamon Rato Jatra Nitra Prabhur Parama Mohan.
All glories to the listeners of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Please hear the description of the dancing of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at the Rath Yatra festival. His dancing is very enchanting. Please hear of it with great attention.
Aradino Mahaprabhu Hoya Shabdan Ratre Uti Gana Shange Kaila Pratashnan.
The next day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his personal associates got up in the dark and attentively took their early morning baths.
Thank you. Pandu Vijay Dekhi Bore Korilo Gaman Jagannath Jatra Kaila Chadi Shimashan.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his personal associates then went to see the ceremony of Pandu Vijaya. During this ceremony, Lord Jagannath leaves his throne and gets upon to the car.
Apani Pratap Rudra Layo Patragan Mahaprabhur Gane Karai Vijaya Darshan.
King Prataparudra, in person as well as his entourage, allowed the Pandu Vijaya ceremony to be seen by all the associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Advaita Nitai Adi Shange Bhaktagan Shukya Mahaprabhu Deke Isharagaman. Thank you. Just for today, to completing it, we'll skip the purports. So we'll just do the translation. Bolishtadaitagan Janamata Hati Jagannath Vijay Karai Kari Hatha Hati.
The very strongly built deities, carriers of the car.
Katakadaita Kare Skanda Alamban Katakadaitya Dhare Sri Padmacharan.
While carrying the deity of Lord Jagannatha, some of the Daitas took hold of the shoulders of the Lord and some caught his lotus feet.
You can see that it's very, very big. So you need a lot of heavy people to carry. Thank you. Koti tate bodha drida stula patta dhari dui dikhe daitagan uthaye tah dhari.
The Daita
Uchchadrida tuli shaba patistane stane ekatuli hoite toraye ara tulite ane.
Strong, puffed up cotton pads called tulis were spread out from the throne to the car, and the heavy deity of Lord Jagannath was carried from one pillow like pad to the next by the Daitas.
Prabhu padagate tuli hoya khanda khanda tula shaba udi jaye shaba hai prachanda.
While the Daitas carried the heavy Jagannath deity from one pad to the next, some of the pads broke, and the cotton contents floated into the air. When they broke, they made a heavy cracking sound.
Vishwambara Jagannathe ki chalaite pare apana ichaye chale korite bihare.
Lord Jagannath is the maintainer of the whole universe. Who can carry him from one place to another? The Lord moves by his personal will just to perform his pastimes.
মহাপ্রভু মণিমা মণিমা করে ধ্বনি নানা বাদ্য কোলাহলে কিছুই না শুনি। Let's keep the
While
thing
the
going.
Lord was transported from the throne to the car, tumultuous sounds were made on various musical instruments. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was chanting Manima Manima, but he could not be heard.
তবে প্রতাপ রুদ্র করে আপনে সেবন সুবর্ণ মর্জনী লইয়া করে পাঠ সমর্জন।
While the Lord was being carried from the throne to the car, King Prataparudra personally engaged in the Lord's service by cleansing the road with a broom that had a golden handle.
চন্দন জলেতে করে পতনি সেচন তুচ্ছ সেবা করে বাসি রাজ সিংহাসন।
The king sprinkled the road with sandalwood scented water. Although he was the owner of the royal throne, he engaged in menial service for the sake of Lord Jagannath.
উত্তম হইয়া রাজা করে তুচ্ছ সেবন অতএব জগন্নাথের কৃপার ভাজন।
Although the king was the most exalted, respectable person, still he accepted menial service for the Lord. He therefore became a suitable candidate for receiving the Lord's mercy.
Thank you. So this is one of the important lessons that we learn, that no matter in what exalted position you are in this world, in front of Lord Jagannath, you are merely a servant. Ekala Ishvara Krishna Ara Sabhabhruta. That only Krishna is the Supreme Lord and everyone else is his servant, even though one may claim to have big position in this world. How many more Prabhus are there? Because, and Matas, I should beg for your forgiveness. I should have asked, we have 2 mics, I should have asked to go back and forth, but that would have consumed more time, so if that's okay. All right, so let's continue. মহাপ্রভু সুখ পাইলা সে সেবা দেখিতে মহাপ্রভুর কৃপা হইলা সে সেবা হইতে। Thank you. I'll read this purport, it's a special purport. Unless one receives the mercy of the Lord, he cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead or engage in his devotional service. Atapite deva padambujadvaya prasadaleshanugrahita evahi janati tattvam bhagavan mahimna nachanya ekopi chiram vichinvan. A devotee who has received even a small fraction of the mercy of the Lord can understand him. Others may engage in theoretical speculation to understand the Lord, but they cannot know anything about him. Although Maharaj Prataparudra was very eager to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Lord refused to see him. But when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw the king engaged in menial service for Lord Jagannath, he became very happy. Thus, the king became eligible to receive Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy. If a devotee accepts Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as universal Guru and Lord Jagannath as the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, he is benefited by the combined mercy of Krishna and Guru. This is stated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his instructions to Rupa Goswami, CC Madhya 19:151. Brahmanda Brahmite Kono Bhagyavan Jeev Guru Krishna Prasade Paye Bhakti Kata Bij. The seed of devotional service fructifies and becomes a transcendental creeper. Finally, it reaches the lotus feet of the Lord in the spiritual sky. This seed is obtained by the mercy of the Lord and Guru. By the Lord's mercy, one gets the association of a bona fide Guru, and by the mercy of the Guru, one gets a chance to render devotional service. Devotional service, the science of Bhakti Yoga, carries one from this material world to spiritual world. Nice. Huh? Text 19. রতেরো সাজনি দেখি লোকে চমৎকার নব হেমময় রথা সুমেরু আকার।
Everyone was astonished to see the decorations of the Ratha car. The car appeared to be newly made of gold and it was as high as Mount Sumeru.
Thank you. Text 20. শত শত সুচমার দর্পণে উজ্জ্বল উপরে পতাকা শোভে চন্দায় নির্মল। ঘাগর কিঙ্কিনি বাজে ঘণ্টার কনিত, নান চিত্রপট বস্ত্রে রত বিভূষিত। লীলায় ছড়িল ঈশ্বর রতের উপর, আর দুই রতে ছড়ে সুভদ্র হলধর।
For the pastimes of the Ratha Yatra ceremony, Lord Jagannath got aboard one car, and his sister Subhadra and elder brother Balram got aboard two other cars.
Thank you. পঞ্চদশ দিন ঈশ্বর মহালক্ষ্মী লইয়া, তার সঙ্গে ক্রীড়া কইলা নিবৃতে বসিয়া।
For 15 days, the Lord had remained in a secluded place with the supreme goddess of fortune and had performed his pastimes with her.
তাহার সম্মতি লইয়া ভক্তেষু কথিতে, রতে ছড়ি বহির হইলা বিহার করিতে।
Having taken permission from the goddess of fortune, the Lord came out to ride on the Rath car and perform his pastimes for the pleasure of the devotees.
শুক্রশ্বেত বালু পঠে পুলিনের সং, দুই দিকে তোটা সভা জৈন বৃন্দাবন।
The fine white sand spread all over the path resembled the bank of Yamuna, and the small gardens on both sides looked just like those in Vrindavan.
রতে ছড়ি জগন্নাথ করিল গমন, দুই পার্শ্বে দেখি চলে আনন্দিত মন।
As Lord Jagannath rode in his car and saw the beauty on both sides, his mind was filled with pleasure.
গৌড় সবরত তাণে করিয়া আনন্দ, ক্ষণে শীঘ্র চলে রথ ক্ষণে চলে মন্দ।
The pullers of the car were known as Gauras and they pulled with great pleasure. However, the car sometimes went very fast and sometimes very slow.
ক্ষণে স্থির হইয়া রহে, তালিলে না চলে, ঈশ্বর ইচ্ছায় চলে না চলে কারো বলে।
Sometimes the car would stand still and not move, even though it was pulled very vigorously. The chariot therefore moved by the will of the Lord, not by the strength of any ordinary person.
তবে মহাপ্রভু শোভ লইয় ভক্তগণ, সহস্তে পরাইলা সবে মাল্য চন্দন।
As the car stood still, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gathered all his devotees and with his own hand decorated them with flower garlands and sandalwood pulp.
পরমানন্দ পুরী আর ভারত ব্রহ্মানন্দ, শ্রীহস্তে চন্দন পাইয়া বাড়িল আনন্দ।
Paramananda Puri and Brahmananda Bharati were both personally given garlands and sandalwood pulp from the very hands of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This increased their transcendental pleasure.
অদ্বৈত আচার্য আর প্রভু নিত্যানন্দ, শ্রীহস্ত স্পর্শে দুহার হইল আনন্দ।
Similarly, when Advaita Acharya and Nityananda Prabhu felt the touch of transcendental hands of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they were very pleased.
কীর্তনীয় গণে দিলা মাল্য চন্দন, স্বরূপ শ্রীবাস যাহা মুখ্য দুইজন।
The Lord also gave garlands and sandalwood pulp to the performers of Sankirtan. The two chief performers were Swarup Damodar and Srivas Thakur.
চারি সম্প্রদায় হইলা ২৪ গায়ন, দুই দুই মর্দঙ্গিকা হইল অষ্টজন।
There were altogether 4 parties of Kirtan performers, comprising 24 chanters. In each party, there were also 2 mridanga players, making an additional 8 persons.
You tell me when I have to stop. Because how many people didn't get a chance to read? Okay. We'll at least complete everyone. And then I'll maybe describe. তবে মহাপ্রভু মনে বিচার করিয়া চারি সম্প্রদায় দিলা গায়ন বাটিয়া.
When the four parties were formed, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after some consideration, divided the chanters.
নিত্যানন্দ অদ্বৈত হরিদাস বক্রেশ চারিজনে আজ্ঞা দিলা নৃত্য করি সরি নিত্যানন্দ অদ্বৈত হরিদাস বক্রেশ্বরে চারিজনে আজ্ঞা দিলা নৃত্য করিবারে.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ordered Nityananda Mahaprabhu, Advaita Acharya, Haridas Thakur, and Vakrashvara Pandit to dance in each of the four respective parties.
Everybody done? And it's nectarian. We can continue on throughout the whole night. But this is just the beginning of the pastime, and you can see how Mahaprabhu dances, and then he simultaneously is there in all the parties, all the four kirtan parties. There are like one singer, one dancer, and it's ecstatic and amazing. And sometimes the cart would stop, and Mahaprabhu would just put his head against the cart and push it, and they would have a tug of war. Jagannath on one hand and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on another hand. They would have this sweet transcendental pastime. It is mentioned that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in the mood of Srimati Radharani, and then chair. You want a chair? Okay. And Mahaprabhu was in the mood of Radharani, experiencing the separation from Krishna. And Jagannath actually is in that form because he is hearing about pastimes of Krishna. And so it is the perfect union, and you can see how this pastime happens. The Lord, sometimes Jagannath wouldn't move at all, and then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would put his head against the cart and push it, and then they go to the Nandanandana gardens in the afternoon, where Maharaj Pratap Rudra, the history behind it is because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a strict sannyasi. He would say that his devotees had petitioned him, please give darshan to Maharaj Pratap Rudra and give your mercy. But he said, I'm just a sannyasi and he's a king. It's impossible. People will mock at me if I meet, the king, so I will not do it. And then on this beautiful day, Maharaj Pratap Rudra, he sweeps the floor. He's being the king of the whole land. He just sweeps the floor for Lord Jagannath, and he captures the heart of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives him mercy in the Yameshwar gardens. It's a beautiful pastime. So we'll stop here. I'm so grateful for so patiently listening. Any final questions or comments? If not, we'll have Kirtan and the offering at the same time. Yeah, Jagannath Ashtam. Jagannath Ashtam is composed. The antecedents are unknown. The scholars help me out. Composed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it is said, or according to, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left only 8 verses in the Sikshashtakam, but he is also the author of Jagannath. The link. All right, everybody has that link. Okay, we all do it together. Mike, and then offering can go on.
So, devotees can now start facing this side.
Yeah, like this, towards the deities.
And Prabhus can take half the place, and Mataji can move ahead, and they can take the other half.
And he built such a huge room that even if the entire US army comes here, they can hear to Krishna Katha.
And we can keep some gap near the table because more tables will come, so devotees can come little behind. Yeah, a lot of devotees make a lot of Bhoga.
Okay, you want to do? It's your call.
And yeah, whoever wants chair, they can still use the chair.
Okay, I think we can do call and repeat. I think Gita Priya will sing first, and then everybody can follow. Mukharavindra Prabhu can play the cartels. It's a 2-beat. Huh? Can't change like this. Whatever is convenient for you. Yes, Prabhu. Yes, please. Usually prayers like this are all done together, so it's easy. Now it's
Kadachit kalindita tavipina sangi tataravo
Kadachit kalindita tavipina sangita karavo
Murabiri nari vadana kamala svatamadupa
Murabiri nari vadana kamala swadamadupa
Rama Shambhu Brahma Marapati Ganesha Chittapado Jagannath Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu me Jagannath Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu me Puje save venum shirasi sikhi picham katitate Puje save venum shirasi sikhi Dukhulam netante sahachara kataksham vidhadate Sada Shrimad Vrindavana Vasati Lila Parichayo Jagannath Swami Nayana Patagami me. Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu me. Mahambodhistire Kanakaruchire Nilashikhaire. Vasan prasadanta sahaja valabhadena balina. Subhadra madhyasta sakala sura seva vasarado. Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu me. Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu me. Kripa paravara sa jala jala dashe niruchiro. Ramavani Rama Spurada Malapanke Ruhamukha. Surendraradhya Shudvigana Shikha Gita Charito. Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu me. Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu me. Radharudho gachan patimilita budeva patalai. Radharudho gachan patimilita budeva patalai. Stuti pradurbhavam pratipadamupakanya sadhaya. Daya Sindhu Bandhu Sakala Jagatam Sindhu Sutaya. Daya Sindhu Bandhu Sakala Jagatam Sindhu Sutaya. Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu me. Jagannath Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu me. Parabrahma Piraku Veladalat Pula Nayano Nivasini Lato Nihita Charano Nanta Shirashi Rasanandhora Dasa Rasava Pura Lingana Sukho Jagannath Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu me. Jagannath Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu me. Navaya Chirajam Na Chaganakani Manikya Vibhava Yachirajam Na Chaganakani Nayachiham Ramyam Sakajalala Kamyam Varavadu Sada kale kale pramata patina gita charito Jagannath Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu me. Jagannath Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu me. Haratvam samsaram dutataram asaram surapate Haratvam papanam vitatema param yadavapate Ahodine nate nihita charano nishita midha Jagannath Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu me. Jagannath Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu me. Jagannathashtakam punyam yapatit prayata suchi sarva papa vishuddhatma vishnu lokam sagachati. Ashtakam punyam yapatit prayata suchi sarva papa. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Nitya Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitya Gaura Hari Bol. Nitya Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitya Gaura Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Guru Deva Guru Deva Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Prabhupada
Jagannath Baldeva Subhadra Mai ki
Jai
Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan ki
Jai
Landu Gopal ki Shri Shri Govinda ki Jagannath Chaman Bhoga Mani ki
Haribo Sharira Vidya Jaya Tahika Vishaya Sagore Dharmadhe Jivayati Lobhomoy Sudhurmati Take Jeta Kotina Samsare Krishna Bharadayama Hari Bhare Jivaja Papasa Dhanavino Bhai Sayanamrita Pao Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gunagao Vividhako Shri Chaitanya Nidhai Vividhako Shri Chaitanya Nidhai Mahaprasade Govinde Namo Brahmane Vaishnave Sapa Punyavatam Rajan Vishwasona Vajayate Prasade Sarva Dukhanam Aniraso Vajayate Prasana Cheta Soyashu Buddhi Payavati Kayopa Budga Shakana Vasalankara Charchita Udisha Bhojino Tava Mayam Jayamahi Bhagavati Mahaprasadam Ki Please come take prasadam. Hare Krishna.